Okay, it's top of the hour, so let's get started. Welcome to the latest in our Paladin University webinar series on managed services. My name is John Oetinger, Director of Managed Networking, and I'll be your host today. We'll cover the five most common managed services that Paladin offers. We have up to a half hour, but we may not take all that time, and there will be time for questions at the end. So if you have questions, enter them in the chat window, and we'll answer them at the end of the call. So let's dive right in. Paladin's goal for offering managed services is for our customers to stay up and running reliably with good performance, safe and secure, and that includes managed antivirus, managed patch management, managed backups, and managed networking. That's our managed services value proposition to you. All of our managed services are scalable, supportable, and have a proven track record. Here's a few stats to back this up. We have 400 customers backing up their Paladin databases using our DataWise backup solution. We have our managed antivirus powered by Trend Micro, the world leader in antivirus software, installed on over 4,000 Paladin customer systems nationwide. We have over 70 Paladin customers running our Cisco Meraki managed networking. And Paladin's managed network services, powered by Cisco Meraki, has blocked over 1.5 million security threats and other bandwidth hogging traffic for Paladin customers in the last 15 months. DataWise and SystemWise are the backup solutions that we offer. Backing up a database requires a backup tool that's specifically designed to back up that type of database. DataWise is that tool for the Paladin database and is the only Paladin database option recommended by Paladin. DataWise doesn't forget to back up. It backs up the database every hour, backs up the database offsite to the cloud, and will restore your database from the DataWise backup for free in the event of a disaster. And one more note, there's only one DataWise backup per location needed. SystemWise backups are what backs up the entire computer except for the Paladin database. Other backup utilities like Carbonite, for example, are similar to SystemWise in that they can back up an entire PC, but do not have the ability to back up a database. So the use case for SystemWise is the owner's PC that's got things like Word and Excel and PDF files on it that he or she wants to have backed up. So SystemWise will usually get installed or used on maybe one or two PCs at a customer's location. Not generally all the PCs. There's no reason typically to back up, your typical cash register PCs, for example. So that's the use case for SystemWise backups, and again, the DataWise backups backing up the database at each location, the Paladin database that is at each location. Paladin's Defense Pack includes managed antivirus powered by the world's leader, Trend Micro, and patch management. So it's a bundle that includes those two capabilities. Scans and updates happen during the night. We monitor to ensure all is up to date. Not just Windows security patches, but also other apps like Adobe. So a lot of times those kinds of applications like Adobe get neglected, and people are just updating the Windows security patches, which leads to vulnerabilities. And the patches get lab tested too. So Microsoft releases patches on the second Tuesday of the month typically. And so a week or two goes by while the lab testing occurs by the patch management tool that we use. And then those patches are applied, which improves the chances that patches are not going to cause some sort of a problem when they get applied. And last, we'll help you remediate damage from a virus or malware for free on covered systems. So next is managed networking. So there are quite a few managed services that Paladin offers. We've talked about managed antivirus, managed patch management, managed backups. The fourth that we'll cover today is managed networking. But before we do, what does managed really mean? How is managed better than getting just antivirus off the shelf or letting Windows just do its own patch management? As we've discussed, it's Paladin monitoring these solutions to ensure they are working correctly and up to date, automation of scans after hours, verification of backup success, to name a few of the benefits. But what about managed networking? What does that really mean? Let's take a look at a couple of examples. So on the left side of the screen here, you can see a email alert that we get from the Meraki firewall, in this case, when it's failed over from your primary internet connection to cellular backup. And it can fail over to multiple internet connections if you want. Like, for example, if your primary is cable, maybe your secondary is DSL, or you can use cellular as your backup solution. This allows you to process credit cards when your primary internet circuit is down and do the other things that you need to be able to do on the internet when your primary internet circuit is down. So any good redundancy solution, failover type solution, is going to be seamless to the customer. And this Meraki failover to a backup internet connection is indeed seamless to the customer. So when you have a failover solution that really works properly, there needs to be some alerting so that you know that the failover event has occurred. That's what happens with the Meraki firewalls, is we get an alert that lets us know that a failover event has occurred. If we see that you've been failed over for half an hour, we'll give you a call and let you know, offer to help remediate the problem with the primary internet connection. And then once the primary internet connection problem is resolved, the failed back happens automatically as well. On the right-hand side of the screen at the top, we can see that there is an unusual traffic pattern with the uplink to your internet circuit. So we can see these sorts of unusual behavior and see if you need some help resolving that. And so we can help identify what's causing that sort of behavior, and help address it. So we can see those traffic patterns, see which PC was, the source of the problem, see what websites were being visited, what sort of traffic it is, that kind of thing. Down at the bottom is circuit health. So we see latency and packet loss, two of the circuit health metrics that are available to us. Latency should typically be about 40 milliseconds or less, and packet loss should be about 1% or less. In this case, we can see that the latency is 4,000 milliseconds, so that's bad in that particular situation for that half an hour. And the packet loss is up around 5%, so that's also bad. We can help have the conversation with your internet service provider to determine why your internet circuit is having circuit health problems. So all this sounds very complicated, I'm sure. Don't worry about it. That's the value that we provide to you, is we're the ones that need to know these technical details so that you don't have to. And one last thing I'll say is, it's kind of like taking your car to the mechanic. So back in the old days, you'd take your car to the mechanic, or if you have an older car, the guy might say, geez, I don't know what's wrong with the car. It's not doing it now. Intermittent problem. But with a newer car, the mechanic will plug a computer into it and you can tell exactly what's happened. So that's the same thing with the Meraki networking gear. It has really good trending metrics so that we can identify the sources of problems over on a historical perspective. Or as one customer said, it's kind of like having an in-house doctor. So how does managed networking help me? So advanced security is one of the major benefits. We refer to managed antivirus, managed patch management, and managed networking as our three-legged stool. One of the questions we often hear is, but I'm a small business. The bad guys aren't going to attack me, right? Problem is, modern malware tools scan tens of thousands of networks randomly and simultaneously. So a guy sitting at his computer in Russia, for example, has scanning tools running on his computer, randomly looking for soft targets. The tools don't care where in the world these targets are or how big or small the business is. So the argument that a small business is not going to be a target is simply not valid anymore. Another question we often hear is, why now? I've been running fine for years without any security problems, so what's changed? Well, there are really two answers to that. One is that cybercrime has become more than $1 billion per year industry. The criminals are professionals running a business and now have very sophisticated tools that they use, so it's really improved their efficiency. These tools were not available about 3 years ago. Second is, in the old days, and that's about 3 years ago that we're talking about here, the criminals were looking for a few high-value targets. They wanted that big payout, but those big businesses have large IT budgets with sophisticated security protection. So it's a lot harder for the criminals to be successful with them. So the criminals have switched tactics and are now using the tools to target a large volume of soft targets. Small businesses are soft targets, which means they don't have the budgets and resources to do a good job of protecting themselves. Therefore, the thieves, and that's what we need to be calling them, are targeting a large volume of small businesses instead of individual large businesses. So that's the answer to why now. The landscape has really changed in the last 3 years, so business owners need to be more aggressive and more vigilant in combating the threats. So I'll just give you a couple of statistics to reinforce how serious this is. Cisco CEO Chuck Robbins stated in 2018, Cisco blocked 7 trillion threats on behalf of our customers, 20 billion per day. That's 10 times the quantity in 2017. So that's the 3 years that we're talking about. That's what's changed in the last 3 years. And Paladin has blocked over 1.5 million threats using Cisco Meraki firewalls in the last 15 months for our customers, as I said earlier. Another question we often hear is, isn't the trend managed antivirus already have from Paladin enough? The answer is, unfortunately, no. Relying on antivirus alone is like taking a knife to a gunfight. Paladin recommends a multi-tiered approach to security, meaning multiple manufacturers using multiple technologies, which in our case is the Meraki managed networking, trend managed antivirus, and managed patch management, all working together to protect you. In conclusion, Paladin's managed services, including managed networking, significantly improves the security posture of small businesses at an affordable price. So that's how managed networking and all of Paladin's managed services benefit you. On this slide is a map of our Meraki Management Console, which is a tool we use to monitor and manage all of our current Meraki installs. A blue rectangle is just a Meraki firewall. A green circle means there are additional services like switches and wireless access points. So as you can see, we have customers running Meraki all across the US, which illustrates Paladin's ability to deliver, ability to scale, and ability to support remotely. All right, so that concludes the webinar. If there are any questions, please enter them in the chat window. While I'm waiting to see if anybody has any questions, you can jot down our contact info and let us know if there's anything we can do to help you out. So I'll give it a moment. Doesn't look like we have any questions. So here's a little bit more information on our next webinar, an excellent venture. Incorporate Excel into your operation. If that's of interest to you, please note that. And a little bit more info that you may find helpful. So that concludes this webinar. Thank you so much for attending, and we look forward to hearing from you again in the future. Thanks. Bye.